Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please hit the subscribe now this start video. The Young and the Restless spoilers suggest tension rising between Maria Copeland, Cameron Grimes, and her wife, Tessa Porter, Kate Fairbanks, as Anne Ward, Ray Wise, resurfaces in Genoa City with an unsettling agenda. Anne's return isn't just a personal vendetta, it's part of a twisted plan to reinsert himself into Mariah's life. But the question on everyone's mind is whether Tessa, still vulnerable to Ian's manipulations, will allow him to form a connection with their daughter, Aria Copeland Porter, Millie, and Maddie Ingle. If Tessa's judgment falters, Maria might be forced to make a heartbreaking decision that could tear their family apart. Ian's unexpected return to Genoa City has shaken the town. Along with his unlikely ally, the escaped convict Jordan, Colleen Zank, Ian's mission is clear: to regain Maria's trust and re-establish himself as a father figure in her life. But Ian's plan is much more sinister than it appears. He believes that if Sharon Case, were to die, Maria would be left vulnerable to his influence, mourning the loss of a mother and possibly turning to him for solace. Although this idea seems far-fetched, Ian's ability to manipulate others should never be underestimated. His long history of deceit and manipulation makes him a dangerous threat to Mariah and her family. Whether or not Sharon's health comes into play, Ian's presence in Genoa City could spell trouble for the Copeland Porter family. When Ian first revealed his reappearance, he did so cautiously. Knowing he needed to approach Maria carefully, he chose a moment of vulnerability to insert himself back into their lives. The incident occurred when Tessa, after being drugged, struggled to breathe and nearly passed out. Ian, ever the opportunist, stepped in to save her by offering an inhaler and cradling her outside society. While anyone else might have called 911, Ian's choice to take the hero role was strategic. However, it wasn't long before Ian crossed paths with Mariah and Tessa, taking a walk with Aria in the stroller. Mariah, understandably furious, issued a stern warning to Ian, demanding he stay away from her family. Given the tragic history between Ian and Maria, her anger is entirely justified. Still, Tessa remains unaware of Ian's true intentions and the depth of his manipulative tactics. The Young and the Restless spoilers indicate that Tessa, perhaps shaken by the earlier events and Ian's help, begins to view him with a softened perspective. Her gratitude toward Ian for saving her life may be clouding her judgment. Unfortunately, Maria has yet to fully elaborate on Ian's dangerous past, leaving Tessa vulnerable to Ian's manipulation. While Maria clearly sees the threat Ian poses, Tessa's trusting nature and lack of knowledge may lead her to let her guard down. It's clear that Ian isn't just looking to play the part of a helpful stranger. His long-term goal is to rekindle his relationship with Mariah, but will Tessa fall for his charm and manipulation along the way? Ian's presence continues to rattle her, making her susceptible to his ongoing attempts at gaining her trust. As tensions rise, could Ian's presence lead to a full-blown custody war between Tessa and Maria? With Ian making calculated moves to stay in their lives, it's possible that he might try to get closer to Aria, even going as far as holding the baby. While Tessa may be blinded by her current feelings of gratitude, it's crucial to remember that Ian is a dangerous figure. If Tessa ever allows him to hold Aria while Maria is absent, the consequences could be disastrous. Mariah, who has already warned Ian to stay away, would likely be furious. Such a scenario could lead Maria to file for divorce and seek full custody of Aria, fearing that Tessa's trust in Ian will put their daughter in harm's way. The strain this would place on their marriage would be enormous, potentially pushing Tessa closer to Ian as she struggles to process Maria's accusations. Could this event lead to a breakdown of Tessa and Maria's relationship? If Tessa grows even more emotionally vulnerable, it may only fuel Ian's attempts to worm his way back into their lives. The stage is set for a devastating custody battle that could have lasting ramifications on their family dynamic. The weeks ahead will certainly see intense drama unfold on the Young and the Restless as Mariah and Tessa's relationship is put to the test. Ian's return to Genoa City is just the beginning of a much larger conflict that could shake the Copeland Porter family to its core. With Mariah on high alert and Tessa seemingly falling for Ian's dangerous charm, fans should expect to see explosive confrontations, heartbreaking decisions, and an uncertain future for Aria's custody. As the drama surrounding Ian's return escalates, the tension within Mariah and Tessa's marriage continues to mount. Mariah's instinct to protect Aria from the dangers Ian represents is one of the driving forces behind the possible custody battle. Mariah has always been fiercely protective of her loved ones, especially Aria, and the thought of Ian worming his way back into their lives, particularly into Aria's, sends her into a defensive frenzy. She has already made it clear to Ian that she will not stand for him manipulating her family, but it may soon become a matter of whether her warnings are enough to keep Tessa safe. However, the deeper issue is whether Tessa will finally recognize the true nature of Ian's manipulations, or whether she will continue to be vulnerable to his tactics. It's possible that Tessa, who has always been the more trusting and empathetic of the two, might dismiss Maria's warnings, assuming that Ian has truly changed. The consequences of such a misunderstanding could be disastrous. In the blink of an eye, Maria could find herself forced to take extreme measures to protect her family from what she sees as a real threat. Ian's ability to manipulate people has been proven time and time again. He has spent years perfecting his ability to turn situations to his advantage, and this time is no different. His reappearance in Genoa City is no accident. He is playing a long game. Whether it's through his false display of heroism by saving Tessa or his subtle attempts to win her trust and grow closer to Aria, Ian is creating a web of influence that could potentially tear Tessa and Maria apart. As Tessa and Maria face the challenges of co-parenting Aria, they now also have to contend with Ian's presence looming over their family. Tessa's gratitude toward Ian for saving her life could cloud her judgment, and it could become difficult for her to see the full scope of the damage he is capable of causing. But when Ian's manipulation eventually becomes too apparent for even Tessa to ignore, the damage may already be done. Mariah could feel betrayed, especially if Tessa allows Ian to have any kind of relationship with Aria that could compromise her safety or well-being. The friction between Tessa and Maria could lead to a widening emotional divide. Mariah may find it increasingly difficult to trust Tessa as she begins to question whether her wife is truly on the same page when it comes to protecting Aria from harm. Mariah's protective instincts could fuel her desire to distance herself from Tessa, viewing her growing attachment to Ian as a serious risk to their family. This emotional strain could eventually lead to an ultimatum from Maria. Either Tessa distances herself from Ian for good, or Maria will be forced to file for divorce and seek sole custody of Aria. On the other hand, Tessa's own emotional turmoil could leave her feeling isolated and confused. She may not fully understand why Maria is so insistent on keeping Ian out of their lives, especially when she hasn't seen the full extent of his manipulative behavior. In her grief over the growing distance between her and Maria, Tessa could become more susceptible to Ian's emotional appeals, especially if he presents himself as a source of comfort or understanding in her time of distress. The possibility of Tessa finding herself drawn to Ian emotionally only adds another layer of complexity to an already fragile situation. As Maria grows more concerned about Tessa's growing attachment to Ian, it seems inevitable that the situation will escalate to a courtroom battle. Mariah may feel that her only recourse is to file for full custody of Aria, particularly if Tessa continues to resist acknowledging the true danger that Ian poses. A custody battle could bring out the worst in both women, pushing them to confront the unresolved issues in their marriage while simultaneously fighting for control over their daughter's future. If Maria does proceed with filing for custody, the case will likely be a messy one. The emotional fallout between Mariah and Tessa could play out in court, with both women presenting their sides to the judge. Tessa could try to defend her relationship with Ian, even as Maria attempts to paint him as a dangerous figure who should not be allowed near Aria. The custody battle would be an incredibly painful experience for both women, especially as it pits their desires for their daughter's safety against their conflicting feelings about Ian and their marriage.